السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. And a couple of things about the introduction. I am from the States, but I moved to Sudan. Anyone here not familiar with Sudan? Okay, for those who don't know, Sudan is the greatest country in the world. That wasn't a joke. That's where I'm from originally, so I've been living there for the last 9 months, and it's fantastic. When the event is over, a lot of you will want to come up to me and ask me, how is Sudan? For some reason, the minute I mention Sudan, people always come up and ask me, how's Sudan? And I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Like, I don't come and say, how's England? I don't come and ask you that. How's Sudan? And I will tell you now, in advance, to save you the time, it's great. It's great, okay? So great, we got that out of the way. Second thing in the introduction, I think I'm going to ask Al-Maghrib to remove that, this whole black belt thing, black belt in Da'wah. Obviously, I never described myself like that. They put that there. Someone made that up and they put it up there, black belt in Da'wah and so on. Obviously, that wouldn't be humble for me to refer to myself as a black belt in Da'wah. If I were to mention, to describe myself, I would say like a 5-degree black belt in Da'wah, something like that. Excellent, very good. You guys look very serious today, Now, I understand what it is. Like, American humor is not good enough for you guys, you British, intelligent British people, You like, satire and witty. You like puns, In America, just do something dumb, everyone's like, eh. But for you guys, you need something more intelligent, I see, Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, success is not something, success. It's interesting. I remember one time I was reading about a neighborhood where there are a lot of successful people. It's an affluent neighborhood. They're wealthy and they're successful. And then they were talking about the problems in this neighborhood. People had psychological problems. Just about every household had someone that was going to a shrink, a psychologist. The children were doing drugs and pregnancies, all kinds of problems in these households. The man's going to therapy, the marriage is falling apart, and the woman is going to the doctor as well, and all kinds of issues. But they describe that neighborhood where most successful people live. Do you see a problem with that? They don't sound very successful to me, do they? Sound like failures, utter failures. Children here and there, drugs, problems, and crimes, and the marriage is falling apart, and everyone's at the psychiatrist on a different day of the week. They don't sound very successful. So if I have a big house and a nice car, that means I'm successful? Or is it a combination of things? And that's why we would like to go with the combination, not just one or the other, Because when you were mentioning the brother who didn't complete his A-levels, that's part of the combination, and we want him to be successful religiously, and we also want the brother to be successful in the dunya, right? And so a lot of times you get one or the other. You get the kinds of parents who insist on material success only. So if the child wants to dedicate some time to Islamic studies, the mother comes and tells him, son, what are you doing? Don't become extreme, okay? Now, first of all, who said the word extreme right now? Nobody said the word extreme. He's just going to the masjid a few days, maybe a tahfidh class here or there, a halaqah here or there. But his mother comes and says, don't be extreme, okay? And don't go overboard in your religion, please. Just pray 5 times a day. And when Ramadan comes, fast. And when you get old, go for Hajj. Well, this is now the bare minimum, She wants the bare minimum from the religion. It's interesting that you rarely find parents who want the bare minimum from the dunya. So you never find this conversation from a mother. She'll come to her son, he's studying all night, trying to get straight A's. She'll come to him and, son, why are you studying all night? Go to sleep, beta, Beta, just go to sleep. You don't have to work so hard. You don't like my Urdu, akhi? You speak Urdu? No. What are you laughing at then? Who speaks Urdu in here? Ya salam. I can show off my Urdu now. क्या आप चाहते हैं कि उर्दू में अंग्रेजी में बोलूं? I'm just kidding, I don't speak Urdu. So we're saying then, imagine the mother comes in, the boy studying really hard, he wants to get straight A's. She comes in and she's like, what are you doing? And you stop studying, just don't go overboard with studies. I just want you to get C's, C pluses, barely get by, get your GED or what is it, your A levels or O levels, huh? And just that's it. Don't pursue college or anything like that. Get an entry-level job at McDonald's, flip some hamburgers, and that's it. Don't go overboard. You never get that kind of advice, right? Because when it comes to the dunya, we want the maximum. We want the maximum. So the mother wants him to get the best grades, and then to go university, and then get his master's degree, then get his PhD, then get a big house, and get a good car. And with religion, a lot of times you find people, they just want the bare minimum. That's one extreme. Then we have the other extreme, where people basically, they, look, everything, all this stuff is going to go. Yeah? Even if you have a car, are you going to take your car with you to the akhirah? No. Are you going to take your degree with you on the day of judgment? No. Is Allah going to ask you about your degree? What did you study in the dunya? No. So what is the importance of all this? Just a piece of paper. Many times you meet du'at who belittle what you do. Like, I used to go to university, and some religious people would come and say, oh, years and years of your life you're wasting just for this piece of paper. Like, yes. It's not just a piece of paper. It's not like someone tore a comic book strip from the newspaper and said, hey, it's not just that, yeah? So we're looking at keeping a good balance between the two. So we want the best of both worlds, inshallah. And is there anything that says, and this is very important, especially for the young people in the audience, pay attention please. Is there anything that says, if because you're a super religious person, you can't have a nice car, for example, or you shouldn't have a nice home, you shouldn't have a degree? I just want the person who says yes to this question, I want to understand, where did you get that from? Okay, where did you get that from? And so many of the Sahaba were, by our standards today, and by the standards back then, they were millionaires by today's standards. Millionaires, not very wealthy, but millionaires. Okay, Abu Bakr, during one period of his life, he was a millionaire by our standards. Uthman ibn Affan was a millionaire. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, millionaire. Okay, now with these millionaires, they just live in luxury, and like today's millionaires, they live in luxury and that's it. Everyone else wishes they had their money. No, their millions helped Islam. Their millions helped Islam tremendously. During the Battle of Tabuk, An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam needed people to donate. It was a fundraiser like we have fundraisers, where someone would get up, say who will give 1,000, who will give 2,000, like that. It was a similar fundraiser. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would get up and he'd say, "Man yujahiz jaysh al-usra, wa lahu al-jannah." Who will prepare the army of distress? It was called the army of distress or difficulty, because it was a very difficult time to go out, extremely difficult. Who will prepare this army? And to him will be al-jannah, paradise. So Uthman ibn Affan would get up, and he would donate 100 camels. You understand how much money that is? You all know how much a camel costs. Of course you do, right? You know what the monthly payments are on a camel? We don't know. But it's a lot of money. So he got up, radiallahu anhu, he donated 100 camels. Now, not just 100 camels, he said, بِأَقْتَابِهَا وَأَحْلَاسِهَا, يعني with the saddles, with the reins, the ropes, everything needed, they're ready to go. It's like giving you a car with the keys, tire pressure is good, oil, gas is in the tank, ready to go. So then he sat down. So now he got glad tidings of paradise, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ promised him that. I don't think your local fundraiser can say that. Can he? Who will give 5,000 pounds and to him will be paradise? Everyone will be like, who's this guy exactly? But then the Prophet ﷺ one more time asked, who will prepare the army of distress and to him is paradise? And Uthman ibn Affan got up and he says, and I pledge another 100, بِأَقْتَابِهَا وَأَحْلَاسِهَا, ready to go. Then he sat down. Then the Prophet ﷺ asked again, and then Uthman got up again. And it's narrated he got up 7 times. In one narration, 10 times. 10 times. Imagine getting paradise glad tidings more than 10 times. Or 7 times. We'll accept half, right? You'll accept half, brothers? Half is good. One brother say, just let me put my foot in paradise. And the other can be out there at the gate. Let's see what's going on here. Hey, look at those guys. Good enough for me, he said. So, what we're trying to say here is that there's nothing wrong with being financially successful. You know, and a lot of times, at least in the da'wah in the United States, many times the problem with it is that there's no money, especially in the old days. Now communities are growing and they understand responsibilities, things like that. But in the old days, there was problems. How many times there were some phenomenal projects, we just needed a righteous and successful, dunya-wise, person like Uthman radiallahu anh to come and say, look, what do you need? 50,000 to distribute this material and to advertise on radio, TV? Here it is. There we go. But no, brothers, we need this, we need that. What would you say if I told you a lot of du'at are like beggars? For the most part, for the longest time, people involved in da'wah were like beggars, always needing money, always asking, always begging, pleading. Is this something that people should beg for? But suppose these people were, had successful businesses or had good degrees. Is there any problem there? So I just want to make sure if any young people in the audience think that, well, oh, this is not going to count in the next life and so on. No, you can make it count in the next life. You can take whatever you want with you to the next life. Can you take your house with you to the next life? Who says yes? Who says no? Who doesn't know? Okay. And who's just not here at all? Can you take your house with you to the next life? Can you take your car with you to the next life? Okay, you can. I'm going to show you how. Okay. Just like if you want to take, well, you guys have British pounds. It's a respected currency. But suppose you guys had some flimsy currency, right? And you want to take it to another country, you can't use it there unless you convert it into a currency that will work there. So I can take my laptop with me to the next life if I want to. I just have to convert it into a currency that will work there. What currency works in the next life? Hasanat, reward. So I can convert my laptop in a number of ways into reward, right? I can do good work with it. I can do da'wah work with it. I can donate it to the masjid. I can sell it and give the money here and there. You understand where we're going with this? So you can take things with you to the next life. Yeah. So for the righteous Muslim, okay, the righteous young man, the righteous woman, when they are successful in this life, it inshallah naturally will translate into good things for the next life as well. Because we're not talking about some punk loser, celebrity who's a millionaire and he's going to use his wealth to disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. We want the righteous people to be millionaires who will use their wealth properly for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Relief, bam, check comes out. Some project, ready. So we do want both successes in case anyone was confused. Be a righteous person and be successful in this life as well. And many times, even because we have this thought, it's very predominant in our society, but because it's so predominant that we actually expect the imam to have a broken up car, okay, to live in a busted up apartment. Do you guys expect that? I hope that's not the case in the UK. But in the US, for example, people want the imam to drive a 1980s Camry. And it's always an 87 Camry. And it has holes in it from the rust, okay? And it smells, that car. That's the imam's car. I personally know an imam who bought a luxury car, luxury SUV. You call them SUVs here? 4x4, is that what you call them? Fantastic. He had a 4x4. And when he bought it, what kind of an imam drives a nice car? So what's happening here? We accept for everyone else to be respected and respectable, except for the guy who works for Allah. Oh, you're a doctor? Oh, no wonder, that explains the Mercedes. You're an engineer? Oh, that explains the Porsche. But you're an imam, and you're driving a nice car? I'm sorry, I'm confused here. Why? Because the one who works for Allah, he should, treat him like dirt, kick him all. Who cares? He works for Allah Azza wa Jal, kick him. Open the door, kick him out. Let him stand out in the cold, he works for Allah. The guy who works for Allah should be respected more than anybody else. But we want our imam to have a busted up car. So some people start to accuse that man of stealing from the masjid. Why? Because he has a nice car. Everyone else can have a nice car in the community. No one will accuse him of stealing. But the imam? Why does he have a nice car? So what message are we sending our youth? Be a doctor, drive a Mercedes. Be an imam, 1987 Camry. It's a good future for you. A young man looks at both cars like, I'll become a doctor inshallah. I'll still be a good guy and pray, but I don't want to be like this guy. Yeah. So another time, one imam, he bought a car. It was a Mercedes, right? He's an imam. He's young, but he bought a Mercedes. One of the board members of the masjid comes to his house and sits with him. He says, "How could you buy a nice car?" He actually said this to him. He said, "You should be a role model and drive a busted up car." Wait a minute, role model, I should drive a busted up car. Okay, when I had a busted up car, did you sell your car and drive a busted up car? No. How am I a role model then? This is a very strange mentality. So where, the guy who works for Allah, kick him in the teeth. It doesn't matter. He works for Allah. Look at it. He works for Allah. You work at McDonald's, they respect you more. You get injured working at McDonald's, they pay for you. They take care of you until you come back to. You work for Allah Azza wa Jalla, you fall from a ladder getting some da'wah books from the top shelf. They're like, fi sabilillah, brother. Carry his broken, mangled body outside, you know. What's wrong with you, ya akhi? Alright, so I hope we're all in agreement here. Yes? You serious people? We're all in agreement that we want the best of both worlds. So if you're an up-and-coming religious brother, yes, get good grades, get A's, okay? Oh no, because I have a beard over 3 inches long, I'll just get C's, inshallah, because, you know, this dunya. No, habibi, get good grades, work hard, become successful in both, inshallah. But if you're religious and successful, inshallah, that money will be used to take you into paradise. All right? Okay, so another point in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions those who are successful. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, we'll just pause with that a little bit, right? And so Allah Azza wa Jal says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون. It's interesting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the believers have prospered, right? And then Allah begins by describing the believers. But there's something here, let's not skip it. The first thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the people who are successful. See, a lot of times, like when you start the tafsir of these verses, you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the believers, and the first description of the believers is that they're humbled and focused in their prayers, and then we begin talking about being humbled and focused in your prayers. But there's something before that. First thing, Allah Azza wa Jalla described those who are successful. And the first description of people who are successful is that they are, and what the pause means, you say it. Naam? Believers. Yeah? Excellent. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ هَيَّ عَلَى الْفَلَحِ, just like in the adhan. هَيَّ عَلى الْفَلَحِ, come to success. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ. So successful are, and who are they? The believers. So that means the first description of people who are successful is that they're believers. And I think everyone in this room can agree to that. Because you're a believer, that's the first sign of success. Because the person who's not a believer, the one who does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is a huge loss. Huge loss. Because in the end, the truth is, with all the success, whatever type that you might have in this dunya, in the end it's nothing. All of life, even if you live to over 100 years, will seem like just a few days. And to the people of the hellfire, when they're asked, how long were you on earth? And these are the people who loved luxury the most and loved life the most, right? These people, it would seem to them like they lived part of a day. So that means you can have whatever you have of this dunya. And you know this hadith that describes, really, really powerful. It describes that one of the people of this earth that lived in the most luxury, on the day of judgment, they will bring a person from the people of earth who was the most luxurious. Who might that be? I know people always say, Bill Gates. No. Bill Gates, he grew up, he didn't grow up a millionaire, and he suffered and then became rich and things like that. We're talking about someone who just woke up with the silver spoon in his nostril, basically. All right? So someone that never had difficulty or anything like that. So one of the people of earth who had the most luxurious and most easy and comfortable life, he'll be brought forth and dipped into the hellfire. One dip. One dip. You understand? Then he'll be asked, have you ever tasted luxury? Have you ever tasted comfort? And he will say, never. What does that mean? That means the hellfire is so severe that he will forget every moment of luxury he ever experienced in his life. That's how severe the hellfire is. He totally forgot. They ask him, have you ever tasted luxury before? Ever? He says, no. Have you ever had comfort before? He cannot remember it because of one dip into the hellfire. So that means truly then, the ones who are really successful, in the end, they're the believers. It doesn't matter what you amass of the wealth and palaces and things and so forth of this life. But in the end, if you're not a believer, you have lost. You will not benefit whatsoever. And just the idea of eternity in the hellfire, wal-'iyadhu billah. Eternity in the hellfire, wal-'iyadhu billah. Never ever coming out of it. And you know the descriptions. You know of the people who will be trying to climb out of the hellfire. For 70 years they're climbing while they're in the fire, and they're climbing over fire. Black fire, not red like in the cartoons. Black fire. They're crawling for 70 years trying to come out of the hellfire. When they get to the top, what happens to them? An angel just flicks them back to the bottom again. And they start crawling again for 70 years. People in the hellfire calling the keeper of the hellfire, and his name is Malik, right? So they keep calling him and he ignores them. How long does he ignore them? They keep calling him, Ya Malik, Ya Malik, Ya Malik, Ya Malik, Ya Malik, and he just keeps ignoring them. How long will they keep calling him? A few hours? Half an hour? For 70 years. For 70 years they are calling him. Can you imagine that? For 70 years he's ignoring them. Ya Malik, Ya Malik, and he's just ignoring them. Then after 70 years he asked, this is what do you want? They said, just let your Lord kill us. Just kill us. Look at the dialogue of the people in the hellfire, and look at their requests. Anyone have some time? Just go through the Quran, just look at the requests of the people in the hellfire. They never ever once request to be taken to paradise. True or false? Never. True or false? Why? Because they know they don't deserve it. They never say, oh Allah, take us to paradise. They either ask to be extinguished, okay, killed totally, non-existent, or they ask to be given another chance to go back to earth and get another try, get another shot at this. But they never say, oh Allah, take us to paradise, because they know they don't deserve it. They know that they don't deserve it. They don't enjoy being in the hell, but they know they don't deserve it. And that's why in the end of Surah, the crowds, crowds, Zumar, the crowds. In the end of Surah Al-Zumar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقِيلَ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And it was said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Now, waqila here means both groups said Alhamdulillah. Wait a minute, what both groups? The group of people in paradise, they said, khalas, after they entered paradise, they said, Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. But the people of the hellfire also said the same thing. Isn't that strange? Why would the people in the hellfire say, all praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds? They're in the hellfire. They don't enjoy that. They don't want to be there. But they're still saying Alhamdulillah. Why? Because they realize that justice has been served. Justice has been served. Meaning, it's kind of, let's make the comparison. Someone in this life, and he's basically commits a murder or does some crime, and he pleads guilty. And the judge sentences him to whatever he sentences him. Now he says that when the judge sentences him, he realizes in his heart that justice has been served. I do deserve this. Now is he happy to go to jail? No. But he knows that I do deserve this. Someone who did what I did shouldn't be set free. So I deserve this as much as I don't want to go to jail. I deserve it. So the people of the hellfire, they say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, because they know they deserve to go to the hellfire. See, one of the things about the Day of Judgment is that it's very clear that on that day it's black and white. Okay? In this life, people argue about things. And they commit a sin and they still argue. Maybe a guy chats with the sisters too much, and then you tell him, brother, you're not supposed to do that. You know, there's a distance and a gap between men and women in Islam. He tells you, brother, what's wrong with you? The hearts are pure, and as long as the hearts are pure and there's nothing, you're not sure of your heart, because I'm sure of my heart, and nothing has happened. See, arguments like this, on the Day of Judgment, that same guy, when he stands, he knows what he did wrong. There are no arguments for, well, the heart was pure. Or that. He knows it was wrong. Everyone knows what they did was right and what was wrong. So on the Day of Judgment then, people who disbelieved in Allah, they know that they're wrong. Everything is clear at that moment. That this is Allah, those are His prophets, this was right, that was wrong, and they know that they're wrong. That's it. There's no argumentation or anything like that. So, if we're talking about eternity in the hellfire, and then truly the success will be in being a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in believing in Allah azza wa jal. Because eternity in the hellfire, that's really a loss. A believer, if you say La ilaha illallah, I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is His servant and His messenger, this will prohibit you or prevent you from spending all eternity in the hellfire. from spending all eternity in the hellfire. Which means then, even if you have amassed a huge amount of sins, until it expiates, the punishment will expiate your sins, you can come out of the hellfire. So the believer, even if they've committed so many sins, at the end they come out of the hellfire. But who remains in it forever? The ones who remain in it forever are the people who didn't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. So we truly see what it means to be successful. If you're a believer, inshallah by some default, okay, now you don't want to bank on that one, right? But you don't want that to be your plan, well, in the end we all come out of the hellfire, so I'll just spend my time there and pay my dues. No, that's not a good plan, is it? Very bad plan. But the believer is the only one who's really successful in that sense. So Allah Azza wa Jal began Surah Al-Mu'minun by saying, successful indeed are the believers. They're the ones who never spend eternity in the hellfire, right? And they're the ones who don't necessarily have to go into it, yeah? Unless really there's still a huge balance and it expiates their sins. So successful indeed are the believers. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the first description of the believers, and that was that they are الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who are humbled or focused really in their prayers. So the prayer now isn't just mechanical actions, up and down, but it's supposed to be a time. This is the time when you're talking to Allah Azza wa Jal. You're speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the value of your prayer, comes into how much you focus in it, how much you're focusing in your salah. What quality is this prayer? Is it just movements? Or is it a bit more than that? You're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everything has been facilitated for you to be able to focus in prayer. One of the things about khushu', when you focus in the salah, is that khushu' starts before the salah itself. So when, the act of wudu, ablution, the act of wudu, of washing, it's an act of worship in and of itself. And we perform it as an act of worship. It's preparation. It's preparing you for that prayer. Because I know of people who they were praying, the prayer had started and they're in a hurry to make wudu. So the guy, washed his face, his arms and everything. Then the prayer is kind of progressing, yeah? So there was a bucket of water, so he just stuck his right foot in it, stuck his left foot and just ran. So he's in a hurry. No, wudu is an act of worship, don't just rush it like that. It's about just getting wet, put a bucket of water on your head, run to the salah or something. It's an act of worship. So now it's preparing you. You're starting to get ready for what's going to happen, for standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. Excuse me. So, focusing in the prayer starts way before the prayer. It starts as early as, when you hear the adhan, you repeat after the muaddin, so now you're getting into a different mode now. And making the wudu properly, it's an act of worship, using little water, rubbing the body parts, doing it nice and slow. Some people, like their wudu is just, I don't know how they do it. We should videotape it, and probably with a high-speed camera, because I remember one time there was this brother, he said, I'll make wudu, I'll be back. And he goes like this and comes back, he's wet. I was like, what did you do? He's like, what? It's like, slow down with the wudu, How'd you get wet so quickly? What happened? Anyways, so it starts with that. Then before you start the prayer, you notice An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would remove anything that would cause him to be distracted in the prayer. So for example, there is a curtain with a pattern on it, or something in front of the musalli, the person who's about to pray, you would remove it. Now, this is kind of the opposite. Sometimes, in our world now, we do the opposite, especially young people. Young brothers want to test their khushu', I want to test how much I can focus. So they'll pray and the TV's on in the other room and it's loud, Like, let me see if I can do this thing. Allahu Akbar. Suddenly he's singing, Teletubbies songs and stuff. Why did you do that? Or the radio's on, or people are having a conversation and he goes, let me see if I can do that. Allahu Akbar. Then he's just listening to them all the time. They're like, where was I again? Yeah. You don't test something that's important, and you don't test anything that's dear to you. Your iman, your belief, your iman, and your belief in Allah is something that's dear to you. Do you test it? But many times people want to test themselves, especially young brothers. Alright? I'm always going to pick on the young brothers tonight. Young brothers, they want to test their iman. They want to test things. Oh, yeah, I'll talk to this girl. Yeah, she's attractive, but inshallah I can withstand. Why do you do that? You don't test anything that's dear to you, do you? Now, I think what's dear to people now, they're gadgets, yeah? So you don't test your whatever it is, your iPad, iPod, laptop. You don't test that. You don't put it in the park bench and say, I'll come back tomorrow morning and see if it's still here. Because it's dear to you. Yeah? Or maybe for some people, if that didn't resonate, your Xbox, your PS3 or 2 or whatever it is, you don't leave it somewhere and come back the next day. You also don't test your life because it's dear to you. You say, well, let me run across the highway, see if I can make it to the other side, see if my life will be there. You don't do that because it's something dear to you. So you don't test yourself. You don't test your iman. You don't test your khushu'. Let me pray with the TV on. So you start to now remove obstacles, remove things that would disturb you during the prayer. And then you enter the salah. And you understand that you're standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. One of the early Muslims, when he would make his wudu, his face would turn red. They would say, what's wrong with you? He would say, do you know who I'm going to stand in front of? I'm going to stand in front of Allah. But the difference is that he actually saw that he's going to stand in front of Allah. Well, most people is like, let me get dhuhr. Let me knock this out of the way. Yeah. But he knows he's going to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us in the hadith that when you stand in prayer, okay, to pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal, in His greatness, He turns to look at you. That's incredible. If you could just remember that, how would your prayer be different? You just remember that Allah in His greatness is going to turn to look at you when you pray. Now, if you pray like that, would you be like focused on something else, the market, and when I get out of here, what I'm going to do, or I'm going to call brother so-and-so? You're going to focus. Allah is turning to look at you. Now, but then the hadith says, and He doesn't turn away until you turn away. Meaning, you turn away with your heart or with your head. So Allahu Akbar, for the first few seconds, I'm really focused on Allah. And then in a minute, I'm like, oh, don't I need to go somewhere at 1 o'clock? Yes, I think the minute I get out of here, I'm going to call that brother immediately. But I need to get a cab ride and... Khalas, you lost it. One time someone said, if you refocus, will Allah re-look at you? I said, I don't know that. Who says yes, who says no? We don't have any evidence. I don't know. You better do it right the first time, right? So now, you enter the salah, and you understand who you're standing in front of. You understand that Allah is going to turn towards you. And one of the ways to really feel the salah, for example, to pray like it's your last prayer. Now we all hear that. Sometimes the Imam says, pray as if it's your last prayer. And you're like, sure, yeah. Allahu Akbar. Then you forget, oh, the brother is at 1 o'clock and 1:30. Yeah. Khalas, you forget immediately, right? But really, what if you really prayed as if it were your last prayer? I know this is a violent example, but I don't care. So, someone breaks into your house, and he's just a crazy guy. Says, I'm just going to shoot you in the head. Well, this is an American. You can see it's American, right? Shooting in the head. And you guys don't have that, right? The guy, I will hit you with a stick, okay? No guns in the UK. So, the guy says, look, I'm going to shoot you in the head. I'll give you a moment to do whatever you want to do. You can smoke your last cigarette or eat a steak. You're like, no, I'd like to pray 2 rak'at. He's like, what's that? Like prayer. Okay, I'll let you pray, but the minute you say salam alaikum, there's going to be a gun. The last thing you see is a flash and a barrel. I know that's very violent, but I purposely intend it to be violent. So you remember it. How will you pray that last prayer? It's 2 rak'at. What do you think they will look like? Just like regular, hurry up. Or you get Allahu Akbar. Your voice is going to be beautiful. And Sami Allahu liman hamida. It's going to be some superb prayer. And in the ruku' there's going to be some crying, there's going to be mentioning of certain sins, and you will ask Allah to forgive you for them, and you're going to mention your grave and death, the soul departing your body being easy, and so on and so forth. I doubt it's going to be one of the regular, just rush me through prayers, right? So that's what it means. It's more dramatic. Pray as if it's your last prayer. So the next time you're getting ready for the salah, the Imam says, pray as if it's your last prayer. Just remember that guy with the gun. I'm going to shoot you in the head, man. Just imagine that. It's one of those things. What do you think? Think that might improve the salah a little bit? Absolutely, inshallah. And of course, and no, we're not making this a lecture on khushu' in salah. But we're mentioning those who are successful. The description, they were believers. Now we describe why the believers, and we understand why the believers are successful, and why it's the ultimate success, because in the next life you're okay, inshallah. Then said that the first description of the believers is that they were humbled in their prayers. Not that they just performed the prayers up and down, but they were focused in it. It was a prayer of substance, of value. It was not just any movements. And that's why we got into just a few of the things. Scholars have listed 30-some points that help you focus in your salah. But we're just mentioning just a few, 5 or 6 points. And of course, one of the greatest things is to know what you're saying in prayer. To know what you're saying. So it's, instead of it just being sentences in another language that I repeat every day and I don't know what it's saying, find out what you're saying in the salah. Find out, everyone has surah that they constantly recite in the prayer. Find out what they're saying, what they mean. Okay, so now as you say it, now you can understand, you can focus on the meaning. Likewise, what does Allahu Akbar mean? Sami Allahu liman Subhan Rabbil A'la, Subhan Rabbil Azim. What do all these things mean? And when you understand them, then it helps you and focus on what you're saying. Not only that, there are different variations of what to say. In sujood, there are a number of ad'iyah you can say, coming up from, in prostration. Every different movement, there is more than one dua you can say or supplicate. So learn the different ones. Why? When you learn the different ones, it doesn't become a routine thing that you just go over. Like dua al-istiftah, for example. The different prayers after the takbir, different prayers that you can say. So learn all of them and learn different ones. And then alternate. The scholars say when you alternate, different variations of the ad'iyah during salah, it prevents your prayer from being something routine that you just do without thinking. It's like when you drive to work, drive back, drive to work, drive back. But if one day you're driving to work and you take a different route, between homes and neighborhoods, you really have to focus now because you don't want to get lost. And in your mind you're imagining the main road's still over there, so I kind of have to keep going in this direction. It's very different. I don't think anyone takes a new shortcut to work and it's just like, the regular route, not paying attention. They pay attention. So the same thing happens, same phenomenon. So Allah Azza wa Jalla describes the people who are truly successful. They are the believers. The first description of the believers, is that they are humbled and they're focused in their prayers. And then another description, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. And those who avoid vain talk. Those who avoid vain talk. Now, there's the general vain talk, and then within that generalization there's some severe and specific things that you always make sure you want to stay away from. And we said that the tongue, the thing about the tongue, okay, the source of all the vain talk and all the problems, it's a small instrument that's very dangerous. Okay, why is it a dangerous instrument, the tongue? Because one, few people know how to control it, or few people can control it. And the second thing is that it never tires. That's what I call a recipe for disaster. It's a muscle that never tires. Never tires? Okay, every muscle gets tired, right? Strongest muscle in the upper body, the lats, right? The lats get the strongest muscle in the upper body, but they get tired. Strongest muscle in the lower body, your thighs, thigh muscles. They're a combination of muscles, but they're the strongest. They're very, very powerful. Lower back muscles also, extremely, extremely powerful, but they tire. Then you've got your tongue. And you can keep talking for hours and hours and hours, right, sisters? I'm just asking the sisters just to see if they're paying attention, not for any other reason. Okay, no, there was another reason. But you can keep talking for hours and hours and hours and just not get tired. I mean, sometimes your jaw gets tired, right? You're chewing a lot, big steak, and you're just chewing and chewing and chewing. You get tired, your jaws are hurting you, like I need a break, but I'm still not hungry though. I'm still hungry, but I need a break. My jaws are tired, right? But you talk, and you never feel fatigue in your tongue. Everyone ever experienced fatigue in their tongue? Your tongue never gets tired. So this is the problem. It's a small little dangerous instrument that never tires. It can keep going for hours and hours and hours. Okay? You will get tired, your throat will get dry, your mouth will get dry, and you just take some water and you can keep going. Your tongue never gets tired. So it's a recipe for disaster. It doesn't get tired, and few people can control it. But this is a problem. And then on top of that, we have angels that will record what you say in this life. What you say is recorded. Good things recorded, bad things are recorded. And people are just letting this tongue loose. And you just lash out at everybody with it. And then there are certain things, like there's regular vain talk, talking about useless things and just regular things that are of no specific benefit. But it's still permissible to talk about them, yeah? Like, for example, like soccer or football. It's permissible to talk about football, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, it is, right? You can talk about whatever. Chelsea and Real Madrid and fake Madrid and whatever, what's the other one? Manchester United, right? Just the other day I finally understood who this Messi guy is. I'm like, I always see a t-shirt that says Messi. Now I want to make a t-shirt that says neat, clean. Now I discovered this Messi guy is some player and stuff. Okay, so it's permissible to talk about all that, isn't it? So, but okay, but it gets more dangerous then when we get into areas of backbiting, spreading rumors and tales and causing problems amongst people, and using profanity and lying. Then we start to see, because here Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the companion, he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is really a brilliant question. One of the greatest things about the companions is they really asked phenomenal questions that would help us benefit. And they asked these great questions because they were great people. So he came and he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what of the things most lead people into the hellfire? Okay? Or actually he asked about paradise first. What of the things will most take people into paradise? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Taqwallah wa husnul khuluq. Being God conscious, meaning you have piety, you're pious, you're God conscious, which is very important. And mostly now, in this world that we live in now, there has never ever been a time when sinning was so available to people, true or false. It's so available, sins are so available. And you don't have to suffer to find alcohol. And you can walk out of here and in 5 minutes I'm sure you can be in a store and you can consume alcohol, true or false. Just any sin you mention it, and you don't even have to leave your home for some sins. Within seconds you can be looking at something that's haram, that's not permissible. There's never ever been a point in history where you had to police yourself. No one can police you. There's no one that's around you, unless you have a Siamese twin, and you're otherwise, who's going to police you all the time? So that's why piety is such a fantastic thing. You're aware that Allah is watching you all the time. You don't mess up. You're aware that Allah is watching you. Most people, as we said, their main concern now, are there cameras that are watching me? Is there a police officer? Is there a security guard? Is there a human being that can see me? So you lock doors, you close windows, turn off some lights, and you think that's it, I'm good. But Allah can see you. So piety is fantastic. Number one, piety. The second thing, Nabi ﷺ said, Husn al-khuluq, good manners. Good manners. Now, does good manners involve the tongue? Absolutely. Absolutely. Good speech, good words, kind words, not saying bad words, all this part of good manners. So we start to see now the tongue, it's one of the top two things that can help you go into paradise. Then, and this is what's so great about the companions, he asked Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, asked, what are the two things that most take people into the hellfire? What are the two things that most take people into the hellfire? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded, al-famu wal-farj, that the mouth, meaning the tongue speaking, and the sexual organs. These are two things, what's going on here? Two things that most lead people into the hellfire. The mouth and the sexual organs. What do you think the mouth is? Rob a bank with your mouth? Excellent. With your mouth, what happens? Bad words, bad manners, backbiting, spreading rumors, tales, causing problems between people. All these caused by the mouth. So we start to see how dangerous this is. One of the top two things that leads people into the hellfire. It's time to stop? Wow, okay. So, this might be too much even. Yeah? So, okay, so we're saying that's really, so it shows again how serious this is. So, can we control our tongues? The good news, of course, yes you can. Allah never ever commands you to do something or asks you to do something that you can't do in the Quran. Never ever. Everything that He'll ask you to do, and everything that's praised, it's something that's attainable, something that you can do. If you remove obstacles and you put your mind to it, you can do it. So controlling the tongue, is it possible to do that? Absolutely, it's possible to do that. Lying, is it possible to not lie? Yeah, it's possible to not lie. The problem is people are just so used to lying now. Adults, it is said, these statistics are American, and I'm sure you know yours will probably be less, whatever. That people lie, the adults lie on average 2 to 3 times a day. 2 to 3 times a day. And children lie from 5 to 6 times a day. Here's the problem. We actually teach our children, and father's looking at his son. Excellent. We teach our children to lie. Absolutely, we encourage them to lie. How so? When they speak the truth, we punish them. Who broke this? I did. I punished him for speaking the truth. And if he lies, who broke this? The cat. Oh, really? Well, we should put some poison out for that thing. And you walk away. So the child learns that if you lie, you get away with it. If you speak the truth, you get 5 fingers across the face. So then they start to lie. They start to learn to lie. So how about this for parents in the room? If your child tells the truth, don't punish them. And if they lie, then you punish them. Yeah? So I always do that. I tell my son, you know, did you do it? If you lie, you're never going to get in trouble. As much as I want to strangle the life out of you right now. But if you tell the truth, nothing will happen to you because you spoke the truth. He'll just say the truth. He'll say, you can go. Then my wife will hold me back because I want to kill him as he's walking away. But it's okay. So, the tongue. Do we have to lie? Let me ask you this. How many times in your life have you had to lie to save your life? I mean, don't put your hand up, yani. Unless you're in a gang, like on a daily basis. For 3 times a week I have to lie to save my life. Now, but realistically, I think for the most part, most people in the audience, they probably never had to lie to save their life, right? And if you really had to lie to save your life, then in Islam that would be acceptable. I don't think anyone will blame you. I don't think your imam will be like, you should have told the truth. He would have killed you, but you should have. No one will ever tell you that, right? But so the truth is then, if we don't really need to lie to live, why do we have to lie? So, is it difficult to say, I am never ever going to lie until I go to my grave? Is that hard to say? No, it's not. Wallahi, it's not. Wallahi, it's not. You can say, I'm never ever going to tell. I don't care who it is. I'm not afraid of anybody. And what's the worst that they could do to me? What is, okay, look, you live here in the UK. It's a civilized society for the most part, or what it appears to be, right? It's a civilized society. Like, what will they do to you if you speak the truth? What's the worst that could happen to you in the UK if you speak the truth? What's the most trouble you could get into? Huh? What do you guys do? Jail? Why? No, I mean, like, you're just a normal guy who goes to work, comes home and prays and stuff. It's not like you've got cocaine in the bag and the officer says, what's in the bag? You're like, all-purpose white flour. So, like, I mean, in your normal course of your normal life, what's the worst that can happen to you? Like, right? What, get fired from work? Okay, I'll go work somewhere else. Yes, it's not fun looking for work, but is it that bad? Is it the end of the world? And what I'm saying is it impossible to say that I'm never ever going to lie again until I go to my grave? Is it impossible to say that? Allah, I don't think it's that hard. How many people now, don't put your hand up, but just answer yourself to yourself, because that's what it's about. How many people can do that right now? Say to yourself, you know what? I'm never ever going to lie again. What's the worst anyone can do to me? And I'm not involved in anything, any drugs or conspiracies. So what's the worst that could happen in my normal day-to-day routine? I'm never ever going to tell a lie. Because the hadith says, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, that a man will continue to lie until he be written with Allah as a liar. A man will continue to tell lies until he is written with Allah as a liar. Some of us in here are in our 20s, some are in our 30s, 40s, 50s. Okay, how many lies have we told? And what if because of all these lies that we continued to tell, we are actually sitting right now and we're labeled with Allah as a liar? Imagine that. Imagine that. If you've lied a lot, the hadith says you continue to lie and you're labeled with Allah as a liar. So when Allah looks at you, He doesn't see Hassan or Abdurrahman or Muhammad or Ali, He just sees liar. So liar, then truthful person, truthful, liar, truthful, liar, liar, liar over there, sisters, liar, 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 liar. That's how Allah labeled you? Who in here accepts that for themselves? Who in here absolutely would hate that, to be labeled a liar? They're walking to the store, liar. They're buying apples, liar. They get some water, liar. Walking to the masjid, liar. Coming out of the masjid, liar labels just on top of you. Now don't you hate that? What we just described, wouldn't you absolutely hate that? To be labeled a liar with Allah? So now one more time. Who in here, without putting your hands up, can just right now in your chair say to yourself, I'm never, ever, ever going to tell a lie until I go to my grave. What are they going to do to me? And who is this that's going to do something to me? What are they going to get out an Iron Maiden and stretch me out and tie me up between two trucks and put each one drive in a different direction? What's going to happen? And I know you had some, some severe torture methods in the good old days in England, but I don't think any of those exist anymore, do they? So what are they going to do to you? All right. I want to conclude by talking about a last group, and there's our young brother recited in the beginning, another group of people that are successful or are doing something great, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in jolly old England at the moment, right? You guys are so serious, mashallah. How about I tell you a joke? What's the greatest thing that ever happened between the UK and North America? The Atlantic Ocean. Oh boy, that was more on the this is what we're going to discuss in our course, in this weekend. We're going to talk about ethnocentricity, because you know what, I'll tell you the truth, standing here as an American, I believe that American culture is superior to British culture. And then you guys are sitting here, these bloody Yanks, you're sitting here and you're certain that your culture is superior to my culture. True or false? Let's be honest. True, right? But the truth is, it's a tie. We both lose. Okay. So what's another group of great people? And what brought me here, we're teaching a course with Al-Maghrib. The course that I'm teaching is called Shahada, Fiqh of Da'wah. And it's about how to give da'wah to people, to Muslims and to non-Muslims, to Christians, to Jews, to Zoroastrians, to Magians, to Buddhists, to whoever it is. And the verse that was recited in the beginning of this event was وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِنْ مَنْ دَعَى إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. So who is better in speech? It looks like a question, but it's a rhetorical question. Allah is telling you, nobody is better in speech than the one who calls to Allah. But notice again, وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. So the believers, successful, and they pray. They're not just believers. Oh, I believe in Allah. But I don't pray, but I have faith, brother. I have faith. No, no, no. If you believe, there has to be, your body, your limbs have to act accordingly. You cannot say, none has a right to be worshipped except Allah, and then you don't worship Allah. That doesn't make any sense. Your actions have to go in line with your beliefs. If I tell someone, hey, this is poison, don't drink it. If I drink it, that means it's probably not poison. Your actions have to go in line with your beliefs. So the believers in this verse that we're looking at, they believed and they prayed. They did something. Here, who is better in speech than the one who calls to Allah, and he also does the righteous deeds? So there's always the action involved. Always. So Allah is saying no one is better in speech than the one who calls other people to Allah. Meaning call non-Muslims to Allah, call Muslims back to Allah Azza wa Jal. No one is better in speech. And this is also a great description of people who will be successful, inshallah. So who has not heard of Al-Maghrib Institute? Put your hands up. Oh wow, 3 people? So everyone else has heard of Al-Maghrib Institute. Okay, that's good, that's good. Well, Al-Maghrib is coming, so a 4th guy. Al-Maghrib is coming to your city. And the way it works is they offer degrees in Islamic studies. You don't have to travel. The speaker, the sheikh, the instructor will come to your city. And it's an intensive course. It will be 2 full days, Saturday, Sunday. Then there's a gap, obviously, the week in the middle. Then next weekend we reconvene again, Saturday, Sunday, all day, or like from 10 to around Maghrib time. And you cover a variety of different subjects in full detail, made relevant to you with PowerPoints, with explanations, with a speaker that speaks your language. It's just, and there has never been a time in our history when it was so easy, especially for the non-Arabic speaking Muslim, to learn their religion properly. Wallahi, what a blessing it is. Really, there's never been a time like this before. So a sheikh will come to your city and give you tafsir. And I think there's a card on every chair of the first course. This will be the first course ever, right? And you will see how amazing these courses. There'll be, sometimes 100, sometimes 200, 300, sometimes 500 people sitting, all of them learning tafsir, Quranic exegesis, or the meaning of the Quran, or learning some intricate, science of hadith or something like that, or learning fiqh of da'wah, or learning something about the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, in such detail, in your language, in terms with analogies that are simple and good to, and make it nice and easy to understand. It's just such an opportunity. You get notes, you get everything, then you can take the exam 3 weeks later, and then it moves, the grade goes towards your Islamic degree. It's never been like this. Who has attended an Al-Maghrib course? Put your hands up. Okay? So those of you who have not attended, look around, see who's got their hands up, talk to these people, say, how are these courses? Alright? But here's the problem though. So this is great work. Alright? And I'll tell you how great this work is. You guys know who is the founder of Al-Maghrib Institute? His name is Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif, right? And one of the brothers, when I was in Canada, he was the Amir of one of the Qaba'il, the tribes, right? He said one day, Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif came to visit us, and he said something that at the moment when I heard it, I said to myself, that's a little arrogant. He said, Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif came up to, and he's speaking to all the volunteers of Al-Maghrib. He says, I know you want me to stand here and say, Jazakumullah khair, and thank you guys for all the great work that you do and working for Allah. He said, but it's not like that. He said, you guys should be thanking me. He said, I thought to myself, that's arrogant. Or why should we thank you? We should all say, yes, thank the people for their hard work. He said, then when we started and we had a couple of courses, I understood what he meant. He said, I looked at the room, there were 250, 300 people, all of them sitting and taking notes and learning something about the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. And I was a part of that group being there. He said he was right. He said, I wanted to go and thank him, say, thank you for allowing me to be part of this, to have the reward in this. 300 people learning their religion. While thousands and millions are just wasting their life and going to watching football matches. I'm just joking, right? So, but this is the sad part though. How many volunteers does Nottingham Al-Maghrib have currently? How many? 3 brothers and 1 million sisters. 1 million, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So you don't need any more sister volunteers? Say 100? 100? 100. Okay. So that's about 97 people. Well, 100 is 97 people. 100 is 100. You said 100, so that's 97. So, now, let me take a wild guess here. Do you need more volunteers? Come on, what's wrong with you guys? You're lazy? 3 men, you can't handle like a huge event with a couple of 100 people? Probably not, right? So we need volunteers. This is work for Allah. This is what it's about. If someone's rolling up their sleeve, getting up, saying, you know what, I'm going to be part of this. I'm going to make it happen. This is what it is. And we all expect the religion to move forward. But in order for the religion to move forward, we got to get up. And we have to roll our sleeves. So, I'm not going to embarrass and say, put your hand up if you want to volunteer. Or unless you want me to do that, do you? Fantastic. You see, he's a British gentleman. Could you stand up, please? Thank you very much. That handsome man right there, if you want to volunteer. Okay, are you single? Okay, I have a seat. Because I was going to promote you and put your phone number up. But, or if you're married, you're going to get beaten tonight for sure. I hope you're not. So that's the man you go to if you want to volunteer. Yeah, you want to help out, do something fantastic, inshallah. And some people, wallahi, some of the Maghrib students have taken a lot of courses. They are very knowledgeable, mashallah. I've met some of those guys. They are heavy hitters, So maybe you'll volunteer and you'll become a heavy hitter. Or maybe you'll volunteer and you won't become a heavy hitter, but other people will become, and you'll look back and say, you know what? Look at this man, mashallah, giving lectures and things. And he was part of Al-Maghrib and I was part of bringing him in. Wow. Free reward for you. Free reward. Anyways, I think I'll conclude here. Jazakumullah khairan for your attentive listening. And I think we might do some Q&A in a little bit. So, sallallahu mubarak ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, we would like to now give you guys the opportunity to ask the Sheikh any question you have. It could be related to the talk, it could also be related to da'wah, because obviously that's where he mainly specializes in. So if you have any questions, inshallah, please just raise your hand and just ask the questions. Please just stick to questions instead of long comments. Jazakallah khair.
Are you sure it's one or is it 100 questions? Okay, go for it. Were you serious? We're waiting for the question. What's that? Where's your question? Okay, I'm just going to encourage your mommy to smack you tonight, okay? Tfadal.
It says give da'wah to like Jews and Christians. Like, can you give us an example and give da'wah to a Jew?
Me personally, or mean someone? You mean you, as in hypothetically you?
Hypothetically, when you give da'wah to a Jew.
I haven't actually. Naam?
Or a Christian.
Oh, okay, and what are you looking for exactly? Let me just help you that way.
I'm going to talk to a Jew soon.
Oh, you're going to talk. Oh, you're going to talk to a Jew soon. Okay, okay, very good. Basically, you know, we have the Tawheed, or let me just give you instructions. It's better than telling you my story because mine were a little weird. But basically, you've got the Tawheed thing down, right? They worship one God for the most part, and your main focal point will be on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because for the Jew, they're kind of in a strange predicament because two great men came and they refused to follow them. I mean, Isa alayhi salam, Jesus came. He was a great man and a great prophet, and they totally refused to follow him in his time. Then another great man came, and he had all the descriptions that they were looking for, and they also refused to follow him. So your point with them will be that they need to follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and everything about his life, his sayings, his teachings, his conduct indicates that he was a genuine prophet. So explore it through that. Like, there are always two possibilities: either he was a genuine prophet or he wasn't. If he wasn't a genuine prophet, it would be clear from his teachings, his life, his sayings, his actions. And if he was a genuine prophet, it would also be clear. So try to explore that. And if you need more, there's a video on YouTube called Da'wah Techniques that specifically analyzes Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to prove if he's a genuine prophet or not. Okay? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Next. Yes.
Assalamu
alaikum.
for the presentation.
Ahlan.
I mean, we are Muslims here, we live among non-Muslims. And you spoke about da'wah, and in the ayah you recited, people with the people with da'wah. Here in England, I mean, our neighbours are non-Muslims, see. And the culture here probably different to America, where your neighbour never talks to you about politics or religion, you see. And people are shy in that sense.
Yes.
To open their house to you about religion, to say to you whether they believe or not. And I personally feel the same. I feel, too shy to approach them. They're great neighbours on either side. So
right.
They're non-Muslims. They see us as Muslims.
Right.
They see my family as Muslims because we wear the etiquette. So I'd like some advice, how to go to my neighbour John, and have the strength and the courage to say to him,
Phenomenal.
I want to save you.
Excellent. I love your question, and I love the introvertedness and the good manners of the British people. That's great, and it's true that like even in America, you feel that what if I speak to my neighbor, and now our relationship becomes awkward, right? Because he tried to convert me, and now it's very awkward. Like in the morning, good morning, strange relationship. And so, and sometimes beyond that, I'm shy. I'm a shy individual, and I don't know how to knock on someone's door and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you about my religion," and hopefully convince you to follow it too, right? But here's the thing. You said you had great neighbors. You had good neighbors, right? And I always use the same analogy. But if you're going to work one morning and you see your neighbor, he just runs out of his house and he's on fire. Okay? He's on fire and he runs out of his house screaming. And you're backing your car out, you're about to go to work, What will you do? You just offer some candid, stoic piece of advice like, hey, Stop, drop and roll, huh? And then you drive off, you're in a hurry, or you throw him your bottle of water like, hey, it's the last, but use it wisely, huh? And then you drive off. You would actually, your face would change. There would be a look of worry and your eyes would open wide and you would run and you would take off your jacket and you would try to put the fire out. And in the process, you might get burnt yourself. You get some second-degree burns or something. You get injured trying to put the fire out because you care for this individual. Even if you did not like him, you would try to put the fire out. I doubt that you don't look like the type of man that would drive off. I don't think anyone can do that. What if I can use that and make that the driving force? And that will be the driving force that will even push aside my shyness and guilt and all that stuff. Look, I really care for them. They're really good people, but they really don't know about Islam. Many people, and this is what's happening, people around you, they don't know what Islam is. Or they just heard some website or read on some website what Islam isn't, or heard on the news what Islam isn't. So if they only knew what it was, and if you really care for them, you want them to know. And I'll conclude by saying the Prophet ﷺ, that's the reason when he was offered to crush the people of Mecca between the two mountains, he refused because he cared. All the superb du'at, they cared so much. So that's it. Just use how much you care for them and what good people they are and what they don't know about Islam to say, look, even if it, and inshallah it won't become awkward. And that's the last thing I'll close with, is that a lot of times we assume that the relationship will become awkward. We assume they won't accept it. But you just walk in and say, look, we've been neighbors for 7 years. I think you know that that I'm Muslim from how I dress, my wife dresses, and so on and so forth. And I just wanted to let you know what I believe. I just wanted to share it with you. That's it. That's simple. I see some hands up, and I'm told to do these. Sisters, okay, we'll give them a chance and we'll come to you.
No, these are the sisters.
These are the sisters, yeah.
These are the last two questions.
Okay. Oh, these are okay. These are the last two as well. If you have elderly parents who are Christians and they say they're too old to change, how do you give them da'wah? Basically, I mean, it's not a valid argument, yeah? I mean, basically you just have to keep convincing them. There's no such thing as too old to change. You can give them examples of the father of Abu Bakr, and when he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he changed his religion, and he was entirely white. His beard was all white. His hair was all white. He was such an old man that the Prophet ﷺ felt bad that he came to me. I should have gone to him. So, and give them examples of people. I know of a man, we did da'wah training in New Jersey, and Sunday we went out for street da'wah. And the brothers, they saw this man. He was 81 years old, coming out of church. It was Sunday, on the footsteps of the church. And this was like, these Baptist churches, so he was twirling and dancing just a few minutes ago. They had this huge rush, and they were just all yelling and excited. On the steps of the church, they gave him shahada. He became Muslim. And it turns out that he lives across the street from the musalla. 2 years later, I get an update from him, he's still praying at the musalla. 81 years old. So there is no such thing to say at at this age or that age. So just convince them that this is not a valid argument. Wallahu a'lam. The second question says, how would you give da'wah to someone who says he has no need to have faith or anything, let alone Allah plus Islam? Look, anytime someone says, I don't need religion, I don't need Islam, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim, they're saying this based on ignorance. So you have to explain to them, yes, you do need. Maybe this person doesn't know about paradise and the hellfire. Maybe this person doesn't know that the hellfire is black, that people stay in it for all eternity. If he understands that, he will see the need immediately. Maybe you can sometimes, and we've done this before, you can guilt someone. Okay, who gives you everything that you have? Allah gives you everything that you have, your health, your intelligence, things you can't put a price on. And you're telling me, I don't have time and I don't need to worship Him, I don't need to thank Him, and so on and so forth. So there are many different ways through which you can tackle this individual. Okay. Khair, inshallah. There are many different ways you can tackle this individual, but for the most part, they say they don't need because they don't have knowledge and they don't know what they're up against. So show them the importance and the seriousness of the situation. And I was told that this is the final question. I take it up with him, yeah? It says, how should women give da'wah? How should women give da'wah? And now I will assume now, I will be biased here, and I will assume that there is a lot of cultural stuff involved in this question, because is there anything about women that there are many ways you can give da'wah. So what's the problem? I mean, you can talk to women about Islam, you can talk to your neighbors about Islam, co-workers, you can talk If you're in the university, talk to people at the university about Islam. If there happens to be a da'wah table at your university, you can stand at your da'wah table. If there's a da'wah organization where groups go out in the street, you can go with the group. You can have a partner who's a female and go out and speak to people. And what if you're in the middle of nowhere, and not the middle of nowhere, let's say you're in the middle of a mall, and a man comes up to you and says, "Why do you women wear that?" That's a da'wah opportunity. Can you talk to him? I don't know why you're hesitating. Yes. Scholars say as long as the conversation doesn't leave outside the realm of da'wah. Once we get into, hey, giggle, giggle, I like the color of your hijab, then it's over. But as long as it didn't get into that, fine, what's the problem? Yeah? So there's so many da'wah opportunities for you. You can just deal with, pen pals, women in prison, for example. You can even go overseas. I mean, talk to women, many women in America, they just want someone to talk to. And I'm talking to women now, okay? Not to brothers and get excited and get sweet and stuff. So sisters, pen pals, women here in jails, there's so much you can do. So why the question? I know why the question, because probably someone told you, don't talk, your voice is awra. And we can respect that opinion, but we need evidence to say that you can't speak and you have to basically gag yourself and don't speak and anything. So there are opportunities for you, just there are for men. Just don't make the adhan and don't give any Jum'ah khutab, I think you'll be alright. That's it. Yani opportunities are available for both. There are some guidelines. Stay within the guidelines. You'll be okay, inshallah. Azza wa Jal. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Jazakumullah khairan for your attentive listening and for slightly chuckling at my jokes. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.